Penelope Douglas, Penn Cole, Rebecca Rath.
Some weird times we're living in. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jerry. Today, we're diving into something that honestly feels like it's ripped out of a dystopian novel that someone wrote decades and decades ago, with people going online and actively being so excited about burning books, not unhauling, not donating, not quietly moving them off their shelves or quietly moving them, say, to another part of their shelves. So when they film their videos, they maybe like it won't be in the background. No, no, none of that. Literally burning books. They're burning books, ripping books, destroying them. At least some of the videos that I've seen, they're putting them in recycle, which I can, respect a little bit more. But they're posting videos of their husbands ripping up books, all to like the background of either like a Tom McDonald song or like a church song. And the reason why, you may ask, certain authors have chosen to condemn the violence that happened against Charlie Kirk, as well as the other school. I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but like the school violence that has been happening as well. But with condemning that, they have also chosen not to side with who Charlie Kirk was as a person. That was the big crime that these authors did. Chose not to uphold who Charlie Kirk was as a person on this earth, and condemned the violence though itself. That was their big crime. And that's where we are. And I want to talk about how this response not only feels misguided, it also feels very confusing to me in a way. It also feels deeply disturbing, especially during a time now where a bunch of book banning is happening across the United States. And what does it say about current book communities and why there is like a sudden rise of religious rebranding that from some book talk creators, oh hi, is fueling this fire. Buddy, I just gonna need your butt not to be in the camera. It is, can your butt not be in the camera? Sit down, buddy. Okay, that's fine. We've got a special guest today. So disclaimer for this video. Disclaimer for this video. I'm not really going to be talking about Charlie Kirk as a person, nor am I going to be talking about what his death and what he did when he was alive and all of that. At this point in time, it kind of feels unsafe to have nothing. It kind of feels unsafe to have really any opinion when it comes to all of that. We've seen people losing their jobs or losing opportunities because of their opinions of Charlie Kirk when he was alive. And so I kind of just feel like it's not really the time for me to want to speak about it, to want to speak about him at this point in time, maybe in the future. But as you've seen from what's happening, I want to keep my job. I would like to keep my 9 to 5. That's something that's very important to me as someone who pays bills. I would like to keep my job. So I would not be talking about him as a person, but I would be only talking about the controversy itself. And if my opinions about him slip in there here and there, I'm gonna try and keep it as safe as possible because I still need a job. So he has chosen to walk away now. Nice seeing you, Otto. Appreciate it. Anyway, so here's the context for those who have chosen peace and have chosen not to be a part of Book Talk. After the unaliving of Charlie Kirk, authors, many of them popular in like the romance and fantasy genre, came forward to condemn the violence. Authors like H.D. Carlton, Emily Rath, um, Penelope Douglas, Kennedy Ryan. Those are the ones that I know off the top of my head, but those were some of the authors who said something on social media or liked something on social media. And let's be clear, condemning violence shouldn't be a controversial stance. But because these authors didn't also explicitly support Charlie Kirk, or they made it clear in their statements that they condemn the violence itself, but they don't side with him as a person. These authors were branded as villains, or they were being accused of celebrating his death because they chose to point out how controversial of a person he was when he was alive. And the response from readers, in particular people who are conservative or Republican or right leaning, the response was instead of choosing maybe not to buy their books or not to feature them on their channel or unhauling them, so other, donating them, they have gone on to destroy these books in videos that I will insert somewhere. They're burning covers, ripping pages, and posting videos of themselves proudly doing it, as if this is some righteous protest against a book you already own. I don't know. But let's pause for a second. Destroying books doesn't just say, I don't want this on my shelf. It sends a message. This shouldn't exist, and I don't want anyone else to read it either, as another person said in their video. And that's that's chilling. For myself, since I started my reading journey, I think that with most people, you start out reading some of the more popular authors. And over time, when you start to get more and more into the book space, whether it's on BookTube or BookTok, you tend to find out stuff. And you tend to find out certain stuff about certain authors that make you feel uncomfortable. And you have a decision now because you've already bought the books, you've already read them, you've already said you love them. You've now got a choice. And I've had that similar experience where you're no longer agreeing with who this author is, so you're wondering what to do with the books. And for me, I've always had that question of when people are going through cancellation, are going through something that is so controversial that people are choosing to pick sides and you're having to put your own faith and ideals into whether or not you support this author. And for me, when it comes to books that I just like, I downright don't support this, as in there's something in this book that I don't support, or there was something in it that made me feel uncomfortable, I have chosen to donate the books personally. To a certain extent, like if it's something that's very harmful material, I haven't really, to be honest with you, I don't own any books that I really had that much harmful material that I felt uncomfortable, that I didn't feel comfortable just donating them. So that's what I've done. Given them to free little libraries, sold them on Pango Books, stuff like that. Like things that I no longer authors and people that I no longer support, I have either chosen to donate them to free little libraries or I have chosen to sell them on Pango Books. And then for some authors who I really love their books, but maybe don't support them as much as a person anymore, sometimes I've chosen to just put their books at the very bottom of my shelf, which is like the bottom of my bookshelves is like books that I'm either like too spicy that I don't want my people to walk in and ask me what that book is about, or it's those books that I felt I didn't necessarily like, or it's books that I'm like, I no longer support this author. I really love this book though, or I really love this series though. So I'm going to put it at the very bottom of my shelves so that when I film book content in front of them, you can't see them. They're not outwardly displayed, as in, like, I want you to also read this book as well. I'm no longer actively promoting this book. And I've always kind of felt like that's the way that it should go. To me, at least as somebody who like works, I've always thought the idea of burning your things, whether it's like burning a jersey or burning a hat or burning shoes or burning books, I've always thought that was just like you're just doing that for social media purposes, if you want to be honest. Like I spent money on it. The person who is going to make that coin off of it has made that coin off of it because I already bought it, right? So now it's like I don't really know uh okay. So now I need you to sit and I kind of just feel like it's just a waste. You're just doing this for other people and for validation from other people. And again, that's not me telling you it's your property. Hello. Yeah. He doesn't know what he wants to do today. I just feel like it's just nothing but a performance for other people. You're not doing anything. Like heard some people say that they're going to donate the money that they would have. I don't I don't know. Some people said they're gonna donate to Turning Point USA with the money, but they've already burning the books. I don't really know. Okay. I just feel like it doesn't really move the needle forward in the conversation. All it really does is just like quote unquote feel good to other people. I just think that sure, it's your property. You can do whatever you want with it. It's yours. But I also just feel like donating it or selling it or if you really love the books, putting them at the very bottom of their shelves, it also makes a statement. It's you're no longer in possession of those books. If you really feel like there's such harmful material within this book so you don't want other people to read them, that's a whole different other conversation. We've had conversations on this channel about controversial authors and books that they have and how there's harmful material in those books. That's something completely different. With a lot of these videos, they're like, oh, these books, I love them so much. They healed me. They meant so much to me. They helped me get out of this dark space. But because this author doesn't like the person you like, you're choosing to burn said books or make a video of your husband ripping up the books. Like, I'm confused on who the hell is this for? Another part that is troubling about all of this is the so called boycott list that's going around. Yes, it's an actual spreadsheet of authors that is circulating that says don't buy from them, don't promote them, don't even mention them, don't buy books from them, don't support them because of the fact that they don't think Charlie Kirk is the best thing that happened since sliced bread, pretty much.
I did get a further list of unfortunate authors who, honestly, their words are horrible. Charlie Kirk, his whole platform was based upon the freedom of speech. These authors have decided to use their freedom of speech to say disparaging things, awful things about Charlie Kirk.
And lists aren't anything new on BookTok. There have been lists in the past of authors who are conservative versus ones who are liberal. Or there's been lists in the past of authors who support Israel or support Palestine. Lists aren't something it's normal for BookTok. They always want to have a list. And I've always felt troubled with lists because a lot of the time, a lot of people get added to lists that didn't say anything or haven't said anything, or you don't know their political opinion, or someone just made something up in a comment section and people are taking it as gospel. And in almost either way, doesn't matter what list it is, doesn't matter what side you're on, every time you see a list, it sort of just feels like, where are you getting this information from? And a lot of the time, the information is false. I remember during the one about Palestine, authors who support Palestine, authors who don't, it was a lot of people making assumptions based off of the very little knowledge that they had about this author. Or they were making assumptions just based off of really just nothing. Based off of them, oh, these people who have said something, these are the people who haven't said something. These are blah, blah. It just felt very intense and wrong either way you slice it. I just don't think the lists, it doesn't even allow for human growth or for people to change or people to have different ideas. It doesn't allow for any of that. I don't get really what's the point of a list. And here's the thing, readers have the absolute right to spend their money however they want. If you don't want to buy a book, don't. But when you start creating blacklists on authors based off of who they perfectly align with, who perfectly align with a specific narrative for you, you are creating an environment of fear. Authors aren't just worried about sales when it comes to this list. Now they're worried about actual safety. Some have even announced that they are canceling book tours or canceling appearances at book festivals.
With a very heavy heart that I say that I'm going to be canceling all of the other public events that I had planned through the end of the year. You have to make changes. You can only hear people say they want you to be afraid to leave your home so many times before you have to believe them.
Because they're so worried about the safety of themselves and their family members who have nothing to do with this. I will also say, this also points to my other video that I made about Emily Raff, who I said I support and stand with Emily Raff. And her statements were, you know, she's fine with people who support Donald Trump buying her books or, reading them or whatever. But she's not okay with them being a part of her fandom or having access to her. And this is the very reason why. I feel like, of course, you can say that on both sides, there's a lot of hatred and violence and horrible things that are going on. But I will also say that this is a reason why she wouldn't want them to be a part of their fandom. This fandom is supposed to be a safe space of people coming together who are coming with the same feelings and values. And if you're coming to Emily Raff's fandom and you're someone who supports Charlie Kirk, someone who, uh, I'm not going to go deep into his views, but let's just say his views and Emily Raff's views wouldn't align with each other. And you align with views of someone like Charlie Kirk, who again is completely imposed to someone like Emily Raff's views. This is the reason why she wouldn't want you to be a part of her fandom. And I was so confused on why people were so up in arms about that, or why a lot of conservatives were up in arms about that. This is the very reason why. Why would you want to be a part of a fandom that loves all of the very things that you stand to hate? That never made sense to me either. And I want to also talk about another situation happening. It's a lot of these people on BookTok. Not long ago, these same influencers were recommending the spiciest smut romance books, hyping up morally gray men and morally gray characters, building their platform off of content that is anything but conservative, if you know what I mean. And now, suddenly, they are religious spokespeople preaching about God, morality, ripping up their H.D. Carlton books with a church song in the background. This isn't me judging because who am I? I'm not judging you based off of, your faith or what you believe in. It's not me judging you based off of your evolving of faith. As a person who's been Christian as a been as a person who is Christian myself, I understand that faith can evolve, it can change. Some people find religion later on in life. Some people, like myself, have been religious since they were small children. I totally understand that. But the speed of this little transition is giving whiplash a little bit. 3 weeks ago, baby girl, you were recommending reverse harem. 3 weeks ago, you were talking about books where girls were being effed by demons. And now you're over here holding a Bible. Now you're over here quoting scripture. Now you're over here putting yourself above other people as though you're not a sinner like the rest of us every single day. I'm confused. We're all confused. What happened? Whether it's sincere or not, that's not up for me to decide. This shift has become a part of the broader conversation. And again, I'm not judging you based off of whether or not you talk about God enough on your platform. I don't really care. But it's about this all of a sudden shift in your content when before you never spoke about the school, forgive me, the school unalivings. You never spoke about Palestine, never spoke about Congo, never spoke about Sudan, never spoke about any of the other atrocities that are happening around the world that are devastating, heartbreaking. I know for myself, I sometimes have a hard time speaking about certain tragic things because I get really emotional about them. And I don't want to sound like I'm putting myself above people, but I've cried for God, so many different atrocities that have happened around the world. And I've actively made myself a person that chooses to not want to bring more harm to this earth. And that means speaking out and having a say, or at least having an opinion on a lot of things that are happening. I'm not saying that everyone needs to be an expert on all of the horrible, awful things that are happening in the world because that is a lot to hold for anyone. And it's just impossible. But it is just odd when this person says that they were seeing Charlie Kirk's unaliving over and over again on their social media and they felt so empowered to speak out. But I'm also wondering like where were you for an entire summer where I was seeing video after video after video after video of starving children, children screaming for their parents who were under rubble. As someone who's probably as chronically online as I am, to say that you didn't see those videos, I call BS. All of it is bad. And again, I'm not saying that she had to speak out about those things or what she says about him isn't true. I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's just odd because it all sucks. It's a bigger conversation about where we're at in this country. It's a bigger conversation about gun violence. It's a bigger conversation about this sort of vitriol hate that people have for one another on both sides. It's more of that conversation. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I just feel like it was a part of this broader conversation. It's okay, and I still feel this way. It's okay to have sympathy for his wife and for his children because those kids lost a father and his wife lost the person she was gonna be with for the rest of her life. That's not something I'd wish on people ever. But when you feel these complicated feelings about him as a person, that's okay too. It's okay to feel complicated feelings about him because that's just again, I don't want to get into him as a person, but it's okay to have those complicated feelings. And I just really wish that people had more room to talk about that now. Now, the symbolism of burning books, Fahrenheit 451, the symbolism the symbolism of burning books is heavy. Historically, book burning has always been about control, about silencing ideas, erasing perspectives, and making sure one worldview survives. From the Yahtzees. I don't want to get flagged. From the Yahtzees burning Jewish and degenerate literature in the 1930s, to the countless times authoritarian regimes have destroyed books to wipe out dissenting voices. The act itself has always stood for censorship and oppression. So when I see people in 2025 gleefully destroying books, making videos destroying books, not because the words themselves are dangerous, but because the author dared to speak a truth about something or someone they didn't like, it's hard not to feel like we're slipping into something dystopian. And whether you are burning books on the left too, all of it just starts to feel really dystopian. And the kicker, many of these people could donate these books, libraries, shelters, secondhand stores. There are so many places that would love free books. That same book that healed you from your abusive partner or your abusive ex-partner. That same book that healed you and meant so much to you, you don't think that book could do that for another person? Just because you don't believe in this person's political standing, you think that now you need to just destroy the book instead of maybe saying, this book, this author no longer serves me, but it may serve someone else who went through similar things that I did. Buying books, being able to own them is a privilege. And when you donate or give away the books or sell them at a cheaper price, you, surprise, surprise, that money that you spent is now going towards something good. You are now giving someone else the power to read this person's words and maybe feel the own healing that themselves when they wouldn't be able to afford a book like that. Speaking again about H.D. Carlton, right? Her books aren't in libraries, at least not from my knowledge. She's not in my library. Her books aren't in libraries, right? You can't find her books. It's rare you're ever going to find a book of hers like in a free library or something because her books are dark romance, and dark romance is just one of those genres that you're not gonna just like find at random places. I mean, you can, but it's rare. She's a very popular author now. I just think that what would happen if you've chosen to give those books to another person or donate them, put them in a free little library, one that has adult books in them, not one that's like near an elementary school. But one of those. I just feel like that would be doing more and saying, like, this author no longer serves me. And I no longer want to have them on my shelves. Burning them, it does nothing, but it's just performance. Destroying them instead sends a different message. It's not about personal choice. It's about trying to erase the words of this person altogether. It's also about erasing access to this person's words altogether. And this is all happening at the same time books are being pulled from libraries, pulled from schools across the United States. We're seeing entire genres like queer YA books or books that deal with race or target political movements that are being erased from the narrative for children. And now within the book community itself, readers are voluntarily contributing to the same type of erasure by destroying the works of authors they don't like or don't agree with politically. And again, I want to reiterate for myself with authors who I have chosen not to support them as people anymore, especially if it's something that I totally vehemently disagree with, I have chosen to donate their books or I've chosen to put them at the very bottom of my shelves because I really loved the book. I really loved parts of the book. It meant a lot to me. And it just sucks that this person's, a bad person but I'm just going to put them at the very bottom of my shelf so that I'm not promoting them or promoting their work. Or I've chosen to get rid of the books. And again, it's not saying like other people can have them, you know? There's nothing within those books that are harmful. There's nothing within those books that are triggering or are bad. It's just I no longer support them as a person. So that's why I've chosen to put them off my shelves or down on my shelves. It's ironic, isn't it? The very community that speaks out about free speech or about anti censorship is now engaging in that very form right now because someone chose not to praise and call a controversial figure a good man. I don't know, that sounds stupid to me. At the end of the day, you don't have to agree with an author. You don't have to support their work. You don't even have to keep their books on your shelves. But when you start burning them, making little boycott lists and pursuing others to join in and pressuring others to join in, this is no longer about personal taste. It's about censorship dressed up as activism. And it's worth asking, is this really about standing up for what's right? Or is it about controlling what others read, think, and believe? To me, again, it feels more dystopian than any of the actual novels being thrown into the fire. I understand not wanting to support an author because of their political beliefs. I understand not wanting to support an author because something that they've said. I get that. I don't know. I've always just felt like burning books was just such a performance. It doesn't do anything. I've always felt like people just burning items. It's just nothing but a performance for other people to show people that you're with it or you're with this movement. At the end of the day, that person still has your money. And that's really what moves this country, unfortunately, is money. And so they've already got it. And so I don't really see the point in doing that, except you're just performing for others. And again, like it's no hate to any of these people that I had in this video. It's just something that I think is just dystopian and weird and corny and not worth it, honestly. That's all I really have to say about this one. I think that it's such a intense time in the United States. It's such an intense time. It almost sort of feels like the very thing this country is supposed to stand on, this very thing that this country was built upon, is just being destroyed by people who are are bigots. And it sucks. It feels very heavy, at least on social media wise, because I think when you walk out into the everyday world, when I feel like people off of the internet, they tend to be a lot more caring, a lot more understanding, they listen more. And I just feel like on the internet, things can just feel way heavier. Things can just get your booty out the camp. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. Things can just feel so intense and dark online. But in reality, I think people in the real world are a lot more understanding. They're a lot more willing to hear what the people have to say. But it just feels like it's very intense right now. Oh, sorry, buddy. It just feels like it's very intense right now. You have anything to say? Thanks. Okay, so that's all I have for this video. If you liked it, like and subscribe or whatever you're feeling today. What do you think about all of this that's happening on Book Talk or really around the country? Because I feel like a lot of this has been really a temperature check of like the rest of what's going on in the United States. So, but yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you find some peace off of the internet and um, choose not to burn books. Thank you. Bye bye.